Bueno, buenos días a todos, buenas tardes a los que estén en Europa. Mi nombre es Alfredo Caprile, soy el team leader de un proyecto financiado por la Unión Europea, cuyo nombre es Low Carbon and the Circular Economy Business Action. Hoy tenemos este webinar básicamente hablando de financiación europea para proyectos de descarbonización. Y lo que queremos es presentarle parte del portafolio de instrumentos financieros que hay en los países europeos, tanto como España, Alemania, Italia, Bélgica y Austria, para ver que ustedes entiendan cómo los podemos apoyar con la materialización de proyectos en países latinoamericanos con socios tecnológicos europeos. Sin más, le voy a dar la palabra a Estefanía Orell. Estefanía Orell es nuestra Tax Manager. Ella está en Brasilia, en la delegación de la Unión Europea. Así que Estefanía nos va a contar un poquito sobre el Pacto Verde Europeo y el programa de Low Carbon. Estefanía, tienes la palabra.
Muchas gracias, Alfredo. Como bien lo has dicho, soy Estefanía Orell, trabajo en la delegación de la Unión Europea en Brasilia y tengo la responsabilidad de un portfolio de diferentes proyectos, todos relacionados con la cooperación en el Pacto Verde con socios no europeos, ¿no? Entonces, quería dar primero la bienvenida a este webinar. Como lo ha comentado Alfredo, es un webinar muy importante y creo que ya vemos que hay una participación muy alta. ¿Por qué? Porque, bueno, estamos hoy en el comienzo de la COP, de la COP26, que se está celebrando en Glasgow. Y como bien lo sabéis, la Unión Europea está muy involucrada y está liderando desde por lo menos desde 2019, pues un movimiento global para la descarbonización de nuestra economía, empezando con la nuestra. Con este Pacto Verde europeo que llamamos, que se anunció, que la presidenta Ursula von der Leyen, la presidenta de la Comisión Europea, anunció en 2019 en Madrid durante la última COP que se celebró, la COP25. Y desde entonces, pues con este anuncio de nuestra presidenta de que la Unión Europea iba a ser el primer continente con neutralidad carbono a 2050, pues vemos que tenemos muchos socios por el mundo que se está empeñando en seguir estos pasos. Desde 2019, pues hemos anunciado este Pacto Verde, pero no es solamente un anuncio. Nosotros llevamos trabajando en la operacionalización de este pacto con acciones concretas y en julio de este año, en julio pasado, hemos sacado nuestra hoja de ruta muy operacional que llamamos el Fit for 55. Y que realmente nos pone pues, en todos los sectores hacia esta descarbonización, ¿no? Siempre decimos que el Pacto Verde es la nueva estrategia de crecimiento económico de la Unión Europea, ¿no? Entonces, acompañar esta transición hasta una economía bajo en carbono hasta llegar a la carbon neutralidad. Obviamente entendemos que con este liderazgo de la Unión Europea, es muy importante. Sin embargo, no lo podemos hacer solo, y es la razón por la cual venimos con muchos programas en el mundo, y en concreto el Low Carbon Circular Economy Business Action para América Latina, con proyectos de este tipo para embarcar con nosotros a otros países, ¿no? A otras empresas que también están queriendo ponerse en esta vía. Y lo que hemos visto dentro del programa como el Low Carbon and Circular Economy Business Action, es que necesitamos también, obviamente, trabajar en conjunto con las empresas y también con el sector financiero. Ya sabemos que conocemos muchas tecnologías que nos permiten ir hacia una descarbonización de la economía, pero ahora hay que encontrar los medios financieros y dar acceso a estos medios financieros para que se concretan estas cooperación, para que se desarrollen estas tecnologías para poder ir y descarbonizando los sectores que más emiten. Entonces, creo que ese webinar es muy importante porque, claro, tenemos el plan, tenemos la estrategia política, tenemos el plan y tenemos ahora que movilizar todos los actores del sector privado y del sector privado financiero y público financiero para ir adelante. Y la primera acción, obviamente, es dar a conocer cuáles son las posibilidades de financiación, cómo acceder a ellas y poder pues empezar a trabajar en conjunto con esto. Entonces, pues muchas gracias, Alfredo, muchas gracias al equipo del Low Carbon Circular Economy Business Action para este webinar y os deseo a todos pues un muy buen webinar y espero que gracias a se va a conectar y se va a concretizar algunas acciones que necesitamos hoy en día. Muchas gracias.
Gracias a vos, Estefaní. Muy clara tu exposición y realmente, bueno, la pata financiera es una pata muy importante en poder cerrar estas operaciones. A modo de introducción, permítanme brindarle una muy breve descripción de lo que es el programa, porque calculo que en la audiencia hay algunos que por ahí se sumaron al webinar y no conocen este programa. El programa de Low Carbon Business, por simplicidad nosotros lo llamamos Low Carbon Business Action, es Low Carbon Business Action, Low Carbon and the Circular Economy Business Action. Está implantado en Argentina, Brasil, en Chile y en Colombia, y es básicamente una plataforma de negocios que está financiada por la Unión Europea, obviamente, y que fomenta la generación de acuerdos comerciales de transferencia tecnológica y conocimiento entre las empresas latinoamericanas de estos 4 países y empresas europeas, pymes, con aquellos proyectos que contribuyan a bajar la huella de carbono o promover la economía circular. El proyecto, como dije, está activo en estos 4 países y en cada país nosotros contamos con un equipo de profesionales que son los responsables de ir identificando y encontrando oportunidades de negocio que cumplan con los criterios del programa. Y a su vez tenemos otro equipo en Europa, basado en Bilbao, que básicamente es el responsable de registrar a las pymes europeas que quieran participar en este programa. Y nuestra función es ir armando estos matrimonios, noviazgos, por así decirlo, y una vez que los noviazgos están establecidos, ahí nosotros básicamente presentamos el caso a la Unión Europea y la Unión Europea nos da su aprobación para darles una pequeña asistencia técnica y acompañarlos en el cierre de esa operación que va a involucrar también una necesidad de financiamiento. El programa empezó en septiembre del 2020 y va a estar abierto hasta septiembre del 2023. En este momento ya tenemos varios, como los llamo yo, noviazgos o casi matrimonios establecidos entre empresas latinoamericanas y empresas europeas, y estamos comenzando a dar estas asistencias técnicas, y a medida de que esas asistencias técnicas son para resolver algunos temas técnicos o ambientales o legales o financieros, y ahí vamos a necesitar muchísimo apoyo del sector financiero, tanto del sector financiero estatal como privado. La finalidad, como todos saben, el financiamiento en esto es crítico, y es por eso que hoy estamos presentando parte del portafolio de instrumentos financieros que hay ya en países europeos. Tenemos representantes de España, de Alemania, de Italia y de Bélgica y Austria, para que nos muestren cómo pueden ayudar a estas empresas europeas y latinoamericanas a materializar estos proyectos. Así que, sin más, le doy la palabra a Marta Valero. Marta viene del Ministerio de Industria, Comercio y Turismo y básicamente está a cargo de una línea de crédito que se llama Ecofiem. Ella es la subdirectora general de Fomento Financiero de la Internacionalización de la Dirección General de Comercio Internacional e Inversiones del Ministerio de Industria y Comercio y Turismo de España. Así que, Marta, te dejo la palabra y nos contás a ver cómo pueden desde ahí de España ayudar a financiar a toda esta gente.
Muchísimas gracias, Alfredo. Buenos días, buenas tardes. Muchas gracias, Stephanie. Muchas gracias a Low Business Carbon Action por permitirme, Low Carbon Business Action, perdón, por permitirme el poder estar aquí con todos ustedes. Y efectivamente, el objeto de mi presentación en este caso será darles una breve presentación de cuáles son los distintos instrumentos de apoyo financiero a la internacionalización con los que contamos dentro del Ministerio, dentro del Ministerio de Industria, Turismo y Comercio de España, en el ámbito no solo, digamos, del apoyo a la internacionalización, sino específicamente todo lo relacionado con proyectos de sostenibilidad, proyectos verdes, desde descarbonización y de lucha contra el cambio climático. Básicamente, desde España es el Ministerio de Industria, Comercio y Turismo quien tiene la competencia en materia de instrumentos de apoyo financiero a la internacionalización a través de la Secretaría de Estado de Comercio y contamos con una serie bastante variada de instrumentos de apoyo tanto a la exportación como a la inversión. Básicamente podemos clasificarlos en torno a dos grupos. En primer lugar, aquellos instrumentos dirigidos a la financiación directa, que son básicamente los dos de la izquierda, que son FIEM, el Fondo para la Internacionalización de la Empresa, y los fondos FIEX y FONPYME, gestionados por Cofides. Y luego contamos con otros dos instrumentos de cobertura. El primero de ellos, el Seguro de Crédito a la Exportación, gestionado a través de nuestra ECA, de nuestra Export Credit Agency, CESCE, y el CARI, el Convenio de Ajuste Recíproco de Intereses, que básicamente es un mecanismo de seguro de tipo de interés. Por lo tanto, los dos primeros instrumentos canalizan directamente fondos del Estado español a operaciones de exportación, en el caso del FIEM principalmente, o a operaciones de inversión, en el caso de Cofides, mientras que los instrumentos de seguro, CESCE y el Convenio de Ajuste Recíproco de Intereses, lo que hacen principalmente es, mediante una gestión del riesgo, incentivar a que los propios financiadores privados puedan canalizar recursos a este tipo de proyectos. Centrándome y en el tiempo de exposición que tengo, querría centrarme en todos ellos, en especial hablar en primer lugar del Fondo para la Internacionalización de la Empresa. Como digo, el Fondo para la Internacionalización de la Empresa no es, pero actúa como un banco ofreciendo financiación directa y eso lo va a hacer en cuatro líneas principales de actuación. Todo ello, en primer lugar, respetando el acuerdo en materia de créditos a la exportación con apoyo oficial a medio y largo plazo, el consenso de la OCDE. El FIEM va a estar regulado por el consenso de la OCDE. En segundo lugar, otra de las líneas estratégicas de nuestra actuación es el apoyo a la PYME. Todas las operaciones de exportación y de inversión de la PYME tienen especial tratamiento dentro del FIEM. La sostenibilidad, todo lo que sea economía verde, economía circular, lucha contra el cambio climático, merece especial atención dentro del Fondo para la Internacionalización de la Empresa. Y finalmente, se está en un proceso de digitalización de todos los procedimientos para intentar acelerar, porque sabemos que el tiempo es otra de las variables importantes a la hora de canalizar los recursos a favor de los proyectos. Pero en concreto, ¿qué es el FIEM? El FIEM, como he dicho, no es un banco, pero actúa como un banco. Es un fondo del Estado español. Actualmente tiene una cartera de 4.500 millones de euros. Anualmente contamos con un límite de aprobaciones de 500 millones de euros. En el año 2020 aprobamos 4,5 millones de euros en operaciones. No tenemos ni límites mínimos ni límites máximos por operación. De hecho, la operación más pequeñita que hemos financiado ha sido de 35.000 euros y la operación más grande han sido de 300 millones de dólares. Ofrecemos financiación en euros o dólares principalmente, aunque otras monedas, digamos, fuertes también son posibles. Ofrecemos financiación en todos los países. De hecho, América Latina supone el 40% de nuestra cartera, pero podemos entrar, como digo, en todos los países. y en todos los sectores, excepto en defensa, en agricultura, en educación básica y en sanidad básica. Pero el resto de los sectores están abiertos a la financiación del FIEM. ¿Qué es lo que necesita el FIEM para entrar en una operación? Básicamente dos cosas: interés español de la operación y solvencia de nuestro deudor. ¿Qué entendemos por interés español en una operación? Básicamente hay un elemento cuantitativo de medición de ese interés español en las operaciones, que es el contenido de bienes y servicios españoles que se exporten en una operación. En el FIEM no tenemos un límite mínimo de material español para poder estudiar una operación. Sí es cierto que cuanto mayor sea el contenido de material español, mayor será el crédito que podamos conceder, con el máximo siempre que nos establece el consenso de la OCDE. Pero si hay una pequeña porción de material español contenido en el contrato, podemos estudiar la posibilidad de entrar como financiadores directos, como acreedores de esa operación, y en función del contenido español ofrecer un crédito mayor o un crédito menor. Existen otra serie de factores que permiten valorar el interés cualitativo de la operación. Por ejemplo, en qué sector se desarrolle, y en este caso, si se trata de un sector relativo a energías renovables, proyectos de agua, todo lo relacionado con lucha contra el cambio climático, va a ser de especial interés y, por lo tanto, va a ir añadiendo posibilidades de incrementar el crédito financiado con cargo al FIEM. Por otro lado, otro de los elementos que necesitamos, como decía, es la solvencia del deudor. ¿Por qué? Porque el FIEM actúa bajo un esquema de crédito comprador. Es decir, nosotros financiamos al comprador de la empresa española. Por lo tanto, generalmente es la empresa española quien firma el contrato con su importador, y el importador va a recibir financiación del FIEM, de tal forma que el exportador irá cobrando conforme va ejecutando su contrato directamente del Fondo para la Internacionalización de la empresa. El importador asumirá la deuda e irá devolviendo el crédito conforme a las condiciones estipuladas en el convenio de crédito. Nuestros deudores, y por lo tanto los clientes de las empresas españolas, pueden ser tanto entidades públicas, soberanas, subsoberanas, como entidades privadas. En cualquier caso, valoramos, como digo, la capacidad de devolución del deudor de la deuda, y en el caso de que este deudor tenga una capacidad, una solvencia limitada, podemos estudiar aceptar garantías adicionales que permitan reforzar, como digo, esa solvencia que necesitamos. En el caso de todos los proyectos relativos a la economía verde, a la lucha contra el cambio climático, a las energías renovables, como digo, es un sector de especial interés para nosotros y, por lo tanto, ¿qué es lo que ofrecemos en este ámbito? Pues bien, una vez que tenemos una operación que es elegible en estos sectores verdes, vamos a darle las mejores condiciones financieras posibles de apoyo. ¿Qué entendemos por una operación verde? Pues el FIEM se va a guiar por todos los principios internacionales en materia de sostenibilidad. Estamos hablando de estándares del Banco Mundial, de los principios de Ecuador, de todo el término de sostenibilidad relativo en los Common Approaches del consenso de la OCDE. Es decir, todos los criterios internacionalmente aplicados en términos de sostenibilidad. Adicionalmente, todos aquellos proyectos que estén dentro de la definición de la taxonomía de la Unión Europea en cuanto a definidos como proyectos verdes, proyectos sostenibles, pueden ser beneficiarios, como digo, de estos tratamientos especiales como elementos de sostenibilidad. Sobre esta definición, por lo tanto, todos los proyectos relativos a energías renovables, proyectos de agua, entendiendo proyecto de agua como ciclo del agua, todo, elementos de proyectos de reciclaje, de economía circular, de eficiencia energética, de adaptación o de mitigación contra la lucha contra el cambio climático, y todos aquellos que demuestren que efectivamente tienen una implicación sostenible verde, son elegibles dentro de lo que llamamos la línea EcoFIEM. La línea EcoFIEM es básicamente una línea que permite dar mayor flexibilidad a la financiación de estos proyectos mediante un procedimiento exprés. Estamos llegando a aprobar operaciones en esta línea en 2 meses y medio, 3 meses, desde que la empresa española nos presenta su proyecto hasta que finalmente se ofrece el compromiso financiero para este tipo de operaciones. Por lo tanto, es una ventaja comparativa en términos de precio con respecto al tratamiento normal de las operaciones, que suelen demorarse un poquito más. ¿Y qué ofrece además de ese procedimiento express esta línea EcoFiem? Básicamente lo que ofrece son las mejores condiciones financieras que nos permite nuestra regulación internacional, de tal forma que podríamos llegar a vencimientos de hasta 18 años, en el caso de energías renovables, por ejemplo, de proyectos de agua, de 15 en el caso de mitigación o adaptación al cambio climático, tipos de interés fijos durante todo ese periodo de tiempo, básicamente basándonos en los tipos de interés comerciales de referencia de la OCDE aplicables a estos proyectos más un determinado margen proyecto a proyecto, pero que estamos viendo que los precios que estamos concediendo en esta línea son bastante competitivos, con esquemas, digamos, estándar a nivel internacional para el apoyo de este tipo de proyectos y con comisiones relativamente reducidas. Todo ello con el objetivo, como digo, de acelerar la canalización de recursos públicos hacia este tipo de proyectos. La línea, de hecho, tiene un año de vida, se nació con 50 millones de euros y estamos previendo una ampliación de la misma por cuanto que estamos casi sin saldo, teniendo en cuenta los distintos proyectos que hemos venido incorporando e imputando a la misma. Por lo tanto, es de prever que en breve, esperamos que en un mes, vayamos a ampliar la línea en una cuantía bastante más considerable. Y este fondo, como digo, principalmente centrado para la financiación de operaciones de exportación de empresas españolas o de proyectos con interés español a todos los destinos, pero Latinoamérica es uno de nuestros principales destinos, y para proyectos en términos generales en todos los sectores, pero con especiales condiciones para todos aquellos proyectos que puedan definirse como sostenibles, verdes o de lucha contra el cambio climático en el ámbito de la línea EcoFiem. Completando la financiación directa por parte del Estado español, tenemos los fondos FIEX y FONPYMES gestionados por Cofides. Básicamente, estos dos fondos de nuevo ofrecen financiación directa, en este caso para inversiones. Básicamente son dos fondos que tienen una cartera más o menos de 1.000 millones de euros y ofrecen financiación en términos de aportaciones de capital, cuasi capital, o préstamos y créditos para la inversión de empresas españolas en el exterior, de tal forma que la financiación puede ir destinada tanto a la empresa española como a la filial que se vaya a crear en el extranjero. De nuevo, la sostenibilidad y toda la lucha contra el cambio climático y a favor de la descarbonización de la economía es otro de los objetivos principales del FIEX y del FONPYME a través de Cofides, y se está estudiando un mecanismo de mejora del precio. Generalmente estos instrumentos ofrecen financiación en condiciones de mercado y con el objeto de reflejar las externalidades positivas que podrían derivarse de estos proyectos verdes, se está estudiando un mecanismo de reducción del precio de las operaciones destinadas a financiar proyectos verdes y o que cumplan con los criterios desarrollados dentro de los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible. Por lo tanto, el Fondo para la Internacionalización de la Empresa, principalmente destinado a exportaciones, Cofides, FIEX y FONPYME, principalmente destinado a inversiones de empresas españolas en el exterior. Una vez vistos los fondos directos, la financiación directa de la Secretaría de Estado de Comercio, permítanme que me centre en los otros dos instrumentos de apoyo a la internacionalización a través, en este caso, del seguro. Como digo, son básicamente dos los instrumentos que tiene la Secretaría de Estado de Comercio para apoyar la financiación de estos proyectos a través del seguro. En primer lugar, el seguro de crédito a la exportación por cuenta del Estado, gestionado a través de CESTE. CESTE es la ECA española, la Export Credit Agency, cumple este año sus 50 años desde su creación y es el principal instrumento de apoyo a la financiación de exportaciones y de inversión. Su objetivo es promover la internacionalización de empresas españolas y para ello permite la gestión de los riesgos de tal forma que las entidades financieras podrán verse indemnizadas en el caso de que haya un impago por riesgos comerciales, políticos o extraordinarios en el apoyo a las operaciones de exportación o de inversión de las empresas españolas en el exterior. CESTE tiene un límite de aprobación anual de 9.000 millones de euros. En el año 2020 se aprobaron operaciones por más de 3.000 millones de euros con un importe de contratos superior a los 13.200 millones de euros. Los principales instrumentos con los que opera la ECA española son básicamente la póliza de crédito comprador, La póliza de crédito comprador, cuyo objetivo es básicamente incentivar a la banca comercial a canalizar financiación, recursos, a proyectos de exportación de empresas españolas en el exterior, de tal forma que el seguro de crédito a la exportación indemnizará a estas entidades financieras por los impagos derivados de riesgos comerciales, políticos o extraordinarios, en este caso hasta el 99% del crédito asegurado. Los países en los que puede operar CESCE básicamente son casi todos y Latinoamérica efectivamente es otra de las principales zonas, representando casi el 30% de su cartera y por lo tanto es otro de las zonas del mundo donde existe especial interés en hacer cobertura y en operar. Al margen de eso, por supuesto, todo el ámbito de la cobertura se extiende a otros instrumentos de apoyo que van a cubrir el ciclo completo del negocio por parte de las empresas españolas. ¿Qué necesita CESCE? CESCE sí que tiene un mínimo de material español para permitir o para estudiar la elegibilidad de una operación para la cobertura, que en términos generales es del 50% del importe del crédito cubierto, pero de nuevo las flexibilidades entran en marcha en el ámbito de los proyectos sostenibles o verdes. ¿Qué se entiende en este caso por proyectos sostenibles o verdes? De nuevo, automáticamente todos los sectores de las energías renovables, aguas, eficiencia energética, mitigación o adaptación al cambio climático y todos aquellos que se adapten a la taxonomía de la Unión Europea serán reconocidos como proyectos sostenibles. De tal forma que el requisito español de contenido para poder estudiar una operación se reduce al 30% del crédito concedido. Las condiciones de los créditos apoyados por CESCE son básicamente las condiciones financieras del consenso de la OCDE, por lo que para proyectos verdes se puede llegar hasta 18 años de crédito con tipos de interés, en este caso pues los que ofrezca la banca, más las condiciones financieras fijadas por el consenso y las primas fijadas por el consenso de la OCDE. Finalmente, para completar este sistema de apoyo financiero a la internacionalización, me centraré por último en el convenio de ajuste recíproco de intereses. El convenio de ajuste recíproco de intereses viene a completar principalmente el seguro de crédito a la exportación. ¿Por qué? El convenio de ajuste recíproco de intereses es básicamente un mecanismo por el cual en un crédito comprador el importador va a pagar a fijo, a tipo de interés fijo, mientras que la entidad financiera que va a ofrecer el crédito va a cobrar a variable. Eso es especialmente importante para incentivar la financiación de banca comercial en contextos de expectativas de subida de tipos. De tal forma que la diferencia entre el tipo de interés fijo y el tipo de interés variable será calculado semestralmente y la diferencia será bien pagada, bien cobrada por el Instituto de Crédito Oficial, por el Estado español, de tal forma que si el tipo de interés fijo es mayor que el tipo de interés variable, en este caso el ICO va a pagar al banco y en caso contrario sería al revés. Como digo, este mecanismo viene a completar el seguro de crédito a la exportación por cuanto que las entidades financieras que sigan deseando operar a tipos variables pueden seguir operando a tipos variables, mientras que el importador y por lo tanto el cliente de la empresa española va a poder beneficiarse de un tipo de interés fijo a plazos tan largos como en el caso de proyectos verdes 18 años. Por lo tanto, en un contexto a tan largo plazo, esta seguridad en los tipos de interés suele ser de especial interés para mitigar este tipo de riesgos. Por lo tanto, y con esta breve presentación para dar una breve pincelada de cuáles son los distintos instrumentos de apoyo financiero a la internacionalización de la Secretaría de Estado de Comercio, como decimos, existe una variedad de instrumentos que apoyan tanto la financiación directa como la gestión de riesgos por parte de los agentes privados, de tal forma que se incentive la canalización de recursos hacia estos proyectos. Estos recursos pueden ser dirigidos tanto a entidades públicas como entidades privadas, a proyectos de exportación, de inversión, project finance, siempre que exista un determinado interés español en las operaciones. Siempre se va a intentar ofrecer la financiación más flexible, siempre de acuerdo con las condiciones del consenso de la OCDE, pero somos especialmente sensibles a ofrecer mejores condiciones en todo lo relativo a proyectos verdes, a toda la lucha contra el cambio climático. Por todo ello, animo a todas las empresas que estén interesadas a tratar con tecnología española y, por lo tanto, a acercarse al Ministerio, a contactarnos en el caso de que de esta forma les pueda resultar de interés el obtener financiación para sus proyectos. Muchísimas gracias a todos por su atención.
Bueno, Marta, muchísimas gracias por tu tan detallada exposición. Veo que tienes distintas ventanas para ayudar por todos lados en distintas circunstancias. Andrea Prava hace una pregunta, a ver si tú puedes detallar un poquito más a qué te refieres con material español. Yo calculo que es, o sea, que la operación tenga un componente español. No sé si hay un límite en qué es ese componente y, bueno, te dejo que tú te explayes.
Sí, en el caso de las exportaciones, en términos generales, por componente español entendemos bienes y servicios españoles incorporados en el contrato, hechos en España. ¿Qué mínimo hay? En el caso del FIEM, como digo, no hay mínimo. Entonces, el que haya, tiene que haber algo, pero no estamos pidiendo un 5%, un 10%, con que haya algo de material español. Podemos estudiar la operación. En función del contenido español, el FIEM modula el importe del crédito que va a ofrecer. En el caso del seguro de crédito a la exportación, hay un límite de material español en términos generales del 50% del crédito. Es decir, que si se pide un crédito de 100, 50 millones tiene que ser material español en términos generales. Para el caso de los proyectos verdes, ese límite baja al 30%. De tal forma que para un crédito de 100, solo 30 millones tendrían que ser españoles. El resto, material extranjero o gasto local. En términos de inversión, tiene que haber un promotor español. Eso es lo que entendemos por interés español. Y ahí se dirigiría básicamente el apoyo de Cofides. Espero con ello haber respondido a la pregunta.
Sí, muy claro, muy claro. Bueno, muchas gracias, Marta. A continuación, tenemos a Veric Schick de Alemania. Veric nos va a contar de los préstamos a largo plazo, capital social y financiación intermedia y garantías de KfW-DEG. Él es consejero en Agentur für, y disculpen mi alemán, Wirtschaft und Entwicklung. Así que, Veric, tú por ahí lo puedes pronunciar mucho mejor que yo. Adelante, Veric. No te estamos escuchando.
So, Alfredo, that was really perfect. Thanks a lot for the invitation. Thank you to LCBA Latin America. Also, thank you to Marta for your excellent presentation. As Alfredo mentioned, I would like you to present to you the different offers of the German government concerning business with different countries that are also in the context of the project Latin America LCBA. And what we do as Agency for Business and Economic Development is we provide advisory service to German and European companies, and also in some special contexts also to local companies, that is companies from either Brazil and Argentina and Colombia and other countries that are in your project. Very shortly, the Agency for Business and Economic Development, AWE, we are a one-stop shop for German and European companies that are looking for advice concerning available funding and financing instruments for business, for economic business in developing countries, and all that in the context of development cooperation. We are jointly implemented by DEG, that is a German bank, part of the KfW group, and by GIZ, which is an agency for technical cooperation. We are funded by the German Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, BMZ. What we do is we provide each request in a confidential and also flexible matter. We are looking to realize projects in developing countries, and we do that confidentially and free of charge. I will show you a very short overview of our portfolio, which is rather large. So we have altogether 5 pillars where we as agency do our advice or work on. First, 1 and 2 are for promotional projects or financial support or financial solutions for an investment project in a developing country. Hereby working very strongly with different offers by DEG, but also by other banks that are available in our database. We have a database for different financial solutions and also promotional programs where we have collected all available funding and financing programs of European banks or other organizations, which is currently still in German, and we are looking to translate that to English. But that will take some time. That's why we have not put it on our portfolio list. In addition, we have also for local companies or for German and European companies, international tenders. That is where our colleagues, or where we are very strongly working together with a consultancy that integrates and advises and builds capacity for local, for German and European companies concerning international tenders. There are a lot of tenders going on, especially now in the field of renewable energy, energy efficiency, and sometimes small and medium enterprises do not have the resources to delve into the tender documents, and that is where we support them. And of course, we have a rather large network of different agencies, projects that are situated also in your countries, for example, in Colombia or in Brazil or in Argentina, as well as in Chile. That could be either local offices of DEG or local projects of GIZ, Development Corporation. I will show you very shortly one project that I would like to mention that is rather oriented maybe to technology providers that could come from Germany or from other European countries and that want to pilot their project and their technology, and they maybe have seen and experienced that capacity and skills is something that is missing. That is skilled craft that is not really able to understand the technology, that is maybe not able to calculate some benefits when it comes to a new technology that is energy efficient and saves money. That is a project that is called Develop with 3P, and I have highlighted the Develop Classic project, which orients which is focusing on SME companies, that supports companies that have a long-term business interest in a certain developing country, and we as German government strongly cooperate with the company. It's based on a matching fund model. That is, the company will have to provide 50% at least of the overall project volume. And it is oriented, or it is organized in an idea competition. That is, once you have submitted a request, it is then chosen, and then it has to be seen whether you get some support for that or not. As I mentioned, 50% of overall project costs will be provided by either DEG or GIZ, which is capped at 2 million euros. But be aware, it has always to be matched by the company. I have given you here one example, focusing now on an African project. that is working, that has been initiated, focusing on technology. So the problem here was that workers, craftsmen did not know how to handle a certain technology. In that case, it was an instrument for diagnosis and repair. And the applicant, in that case, it was Robert Bosch, Ghana, and another company called Rana Motors, as well established in Ghana. They have seen that there could be a certain market for their product, which is the green box that you can see here in the small photo. And that is the instruments. And since people did not know how to handle the instrument, they did not know how to diagnose some problems. And the company, the applicant mentioned, okay, there's a certain market for us. We can sell more of our equipment if people know how to handle that. And that's why they approached, in that case, it was GIZ, to cooperate on a project. And now we will see whether that the idea is actually finding its roots, and whether then in the long term or medium term, Robert Bosch Ghana can sell more of this instrument. Since we are talking about financing solution, let me quickly delve into the offer of DEG Invest, part of the KfW bank. They provide similar to, I think it was Cofidis, as Marta mentioned. They have different loans that they can provide. They provide either corporate financing, also mezzanine financing, or as well project financing, depending on the size of the project and of course on the setup of the project and the requirements of the applicant. It can range from loans which are either secured in Germany or can be secured in the partner country, and also to equity participation. The whole loan portfolio is also supported by DEG with different promotional programs. One is also very interesting. The second that you can see here, the so-called business support program, they have also a small pillar that is focusing exactly on energy efficiency activities. That is, if you are a local company, and local in that sense that you are either based in Bolivia or Colombia, sorry, and Bolivia or Chile or Argentina or Brazil, it could be interesting to approach DEG if you are seeking to invest in a new production line or maybe upgrade your facilities. Then the business support program could also be very interesting, because you will receive some audits, and then of course, depending on the investment volume and the loan that you would seek, DEG would support you for some auditing and managerial activities as well. Loan-wise and interest rates, it depends, of course, on the bankability of the project, bankability of the corporate, of the company that is requesting a certain loan, depends on assets that you have as a guarantee. And as you all know, every project, especially when it comes to energy efficiency, is special. So the banking officer, the debt officer, will have to have a look into your financials as well. But then, of course, that would be at a later stage. Here's one example, a corporate financing. DEG was financing a company, in that case in Vietnam. It is a long-term loan, partly provided, 8 million euros provided by DEG, and with a certain impact. So the company was upgrading, was seeking to upgrade, also to invest in new facilities, but in also new products and lighting and so on and so forth. And as you already also can see, the task of business support service was used here as well. Another project which I would like to mention is the project Finance, conducted here with a company in the Dominican Republic, and that concerns PV installation, 60 megawatt of a solar plant. And as I mentioned, that was project finance. You can see here the long-term loan was up to the amount of 60 million euro. So that is something that DEG provides to you, either as a corporate financing to your local company, when you are a company from Europe or from Germany, that a certain loan can also be applied, and it all depends on the project and also the investment volume that you would like to invest. What we have seen also is that the certain sizes of projects are difficult to be covered by institutional investors, since their investment volume is maybe too small. That is why DEG has partnered here in that case with the so-called Pichincha Bank, which is based in Peru. And the Pichincha Bank is acting as an intermediary, supported by a colleague, which is Mr. Cesar Alvamiera. He's so-called relationship manager. And he's working as DEG desk officer in the Pichincha Bank, which is also active in Latin America. What they do is they act as a transaction manager, and what they are also doing is to so-called translate between maybe a technology that could be a bit more expensive since it's maybe from Germany or from Europe, but has certain advantages concerning lifetime, concerning savings, concerning many other benefits, in comparison maybe to a technology that is cheaper and maybe from another country. So that is what they are doing. They're acting as a local representative, now based at Pichincha Bank, but also we have how do you say that, affiliates or local bureaus of DEG and of course of GIZ in your respective countries that you could also approach and discuss a certain project with. The agency is a one-stop shop, an entry point. We are actually a small part of a much bigger network to support your projects. And depending on where you are based and what you are looking into, we have different so-called angles of attack. So here from my side, I'm based in Berlin. We are the one-stop shop for local and German companies. But for example, we do also have local experts that are based in the German Chamber of Commerce, which are in Argentina, Brazil, and Colombia. We also have a digital platform called Leverest, where sometimes projects of our technical cooperation branch, GIZ, are listed. So you have some opportunities to have a look there and see whether maybe you can either get in contact with someone of GIZ, or maybe they are looking for a certain offer. I already mentioned the DEG office in Colombia, Mr. Thomas Kramer, he's based in Peru. And we have also the German desk, Pichincha Bank in Peru, which I already mentioned. And if you're based in either, if you're looking maybe to cooperate with GIZ, if you're looking maybe to interact with GIZ in the context of a so-called develop project, one of the promotion programs that I have mentioned before, it could also make sense if you approach GIZ locally. But all in all, I think it is easier if you contact the AWE. when you're either a German company or also a company from France or from Spain, or also when you're based in either Brazil or in Colombia or in Bolivia. So that depends, of course, on you. I am heading the renewable energy and energy efficiency and climate branch here at the AWE. Maybe you just offer to you, get in contact with me. Let us discuss your investment project, your project proposal, what you are offering, what you are searching. And then what we can do is either discuss and structure a certain project with you, or at least orient you to a project, a person, maybe another bank that could be more suitable to your request. One last point, so what I would like to mention, of course, and that is rather interesting for German companies, we have the ECA, export credit agencies, or Hermes, that are supporting your investment or your export project. So that is a part of the foreign exchange program, which is not actually part of our offer, but just to complement that, and to, I would like to mention, of course, Euler Hermes for your export project. So that's it from my side. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And Alfredo, back to you.
Muchas gracias, Beric. Muy buena tu presentación. Estoy seguro que te vamos a estar contactando. Estamos trabajando con varias empresas alemanas, sobre todo en el sector de biogás. Así que posiblemente te generemos un poquito de negocio. Así que bueno. A continuación voy a invitar al representante de Italia, que es Tiago de Carvalho. Tiago nos va a contar un poquito de las ayudas convencionales que proporciona la Agencia Italiana de Crédito a la Exportación, y él es un Senior Account Manager en SACE y SIMSET. Tiago, te dejo la palabra. Adelante.
Thank you. Well, can you see the screen?
Sí, perfecto, se ve. Ponerla en modo total, lo único que faltaría. Ahí está, perfecto.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, thanks for the invitation, and apologize for not speaking Spanish. I'm Brazilian, so I should speak in Spanish, but sometimes it's not that easy to speak Italian and also speak Spanish. You start parlando and hablando, so it's quite similar. So I will stick to the English to be as clear as possible for my translator. Okay. So SACE, as you know, is the export credit agency linked to the Italian government. We have at the moment full control of the Ministry of Economy and Finance from Italy. Okay, these are some highlights about the group, the whole group. We have 5.6 billion euros in equity. We have a BBB- rating by Fitch, which matches the country rating. We used to have even a better rating than the country, but now that the ministry is closer to SACE, it makes more sense to have the same rating. But we used to be BBB flat, as we are geographically diversified in our portfolio, and also we are, of course, very liquid as an insurance company. Okay. So moving on, we have some other few numbers about how SACE has performed in recent years. This covers not only the internationalization programs, but also the export credit products. But besides that, we have credit recovery companies in the same group. So I will go into more details about the details of the group, but this is a glimpse of how large is our operation and how important we can be, and our intervention can be for the economy in Italy as a whole. Just to have a very quick picture, in Italy, I believe around more than 30% of GDP is export. And if you consider all the export companies in Italy, maybe 80% of that is linked to SME companies. So to support the SMEs in the export and the internationalization activities is a very key driver to sustain the economy in Italy as a whole. So moving on, we have some business lines in which SACE operate, and we have from the traditional export credit activities to the internationalization activities. Guarantee Italia is something that we started actually in 2020 as an intervention from the government to support the Italian economy during the COVID pandemic crisis. So SACE was a key entity in Italy to support the economy and to sustain a minimal economic activity during the pandemic, because as you all know, it was probably the largest impact from COVID in Europe, and it was actually the first case outside Asia, so it was took by surprise, and the impact was huge in Italy, as you all know. The government stepped in to support the people and the companies, and SACE was the main entity providing the support to the Italian economy. And more recently, we have the Green New Deal, in which I will get into more details moving ahead. These are some scope of interventions that we have in SACE, and this has changed more recently, not only due to the pandemic, but also due to the initiatives involving green business and a more sustainable approach towards business. I will expand a little more about the Green New Deal in the next slide. So what the initiative for the Green New Deal has made to SACE was to expand actually the traditional mandate that SACE has. Historically, SACE was very focused in the export finance and internationalization, presenting a one-stop shop for any company that wants to go abroad. It can be a small export operation, it can be internationalization, opening subsidiaries abroad. We can perform all this kind of support, and also when after the commercial contract is signed, if the exporter has some problems with the credit, we also have an entity such as SRV to manage the recovery of the credit. So it's a full package for the company that wants to expanding the operations internationally. And if it goes well, we are remunerated by the premium, and if it goes bad, we are covering the credit, and we can provide the credit recovery for managing the expectations between the exporter and also the importer. Okay, so this is a very quick quote from our CEO, just to provide a good idea of how SACE is engaged in this new context of green approach and sustainability and ESG initiatives. This is a very interesting and comprehensive description of the group. So we have SACE SPA and controlling smaller companies inside the group. This is our factoring entity. This is our short-term insurance company. This is our credit, SACE SRV credit recovery entity. So these are all controlled by SACE. We have, of course, activities in mainly all countries that we can operate with. The focus of SACE since maybe 10, 15 years ago was to be very close, not only to the exporter, but also close to the importers. That's why we have opened international offices, starting the first one, I believe, was even Brazil. Our office in São Paulo is the oldest one in the international network. Now we have 11 offices. I will go into more details in a few slides, but we are very focused in the presence in emerging markets to benefit our exporters with the credit enhancement that SACE can bring to the transaction. These are the current 4 drivers that SACE is focusing to grow. So very, very aggressive, I would say, in being close to the exporter and close to the importer, as I was saying previously, not only physically, but also with the tools that allows the company to have like a specialist for exports in Italy. Here in Brazil, for example, we can be closer to the importers and explain how the structures work, because sometimes to have the access for a structured finance is not that easy. So we provide this explanation and this approach to the importer companies to understand how SACE can support the contract and provide long-term financing or even medium-term financing. The education for export is a huge focus at the moment. We have, I believe in the last 3 years, we have seen a digital improvement within SACE and for our clients that was very, very relevant, very significant. So doing this, we aim to be more efficient, attending a very, very impressive network of exporters in Italy. So if we want to be closer to all these names exporting from Italy, we need to be efficient, we need to go digital, we need to have maybe an education for export and an export culture, as we are seeing in this slide. Going into the products, we have, of course, the export credit structures, which are the traditional structures for export credit agencies. Suppliers credit, for example, this is maybe the most important structure for SMEs outside Italy, because this allows company to finance, let's say, 500,000 euros contract with an Italian exporter with a 5-year tenor, for example. So we provide the insurance policy to the exporter, and the importer commits to pay semi-annual amortization of promissory notes. It's a very, very, let's say, accessible tool, because under normal conditions, I would say, without pandemic, without a very significant crisis, I would say in Brazil only we have like between 80 and 100 operations like this per year. So it's quite democratic, let's say, because it can go from the small company to the medium company to the large company, depending on the size of contract they are negotiating with Italian exporters. This structure starts making sense from even 150,000 euros or maybe 200,000 euros in contract amount. And it can also operate with larger contract amounts, such as 5 million euros, for example. So it's quite versatile, considering the size of the ticket and the size of the contract. So this is what we do when we approach some smaller tickets. Okay. Moving ahead, I have a very, I wouldn't say dirty slide, very heavy slide, because I have this table, but it's very important to send the message that we have very clear steps when we approach the importer that is already in the negotiation with an Italian exporter. It's very common at our office in São Paulo to have a contact by the agent of the exporter in Brazil, or even the exporter directly calling us to understand better the transaction, to understand better the risks, and if they can go for longer tenors, and we can provide the explanation of the structure as a whole. And we can also filter somehow if the credit merits are in place, if we need to add, let's say, a guarantee, a new guarantor company for the transaction. So before we move ahead involving our colleagues in Italy, the international offices can somehow round up the information and check the boxes before involving our colleagues in Italy, so that we can be more efficient and we can have a better case when we move ahead. So this presentation will be made available, so I wouldn't go into the details, but this is a very important slide to understand how the procedures work and how the steps are very clear to have an efficient communication between importer, SACE, and also the exporter. This is the buyer's credit, or sometimes the multi-tied buyer's credit, because when we have several exporters providing machinery and services to one foreign buyer, we can call it multi-tied buyer's credit. So if we have a company that in the last 24 months, has already some signed contract with Italy, we can consider that as eligible for a loan, for like a $20 million loan, 30 million euro loan, because we can consider what the company already signed for the past 24 months, and also what the company is planning to sign as contracts with Italy for the future 24 months. So when we would package this 48 months of potential contracts with Italy, we may have buyer's credit in maybe 20 million euros or dollars, 50 million euros or dollars, and this requires a funding bank to be covered by SACE up to 95% of the facility. And this is, I believe, the most traditional structure that we have available at the export credit agency industry, and SACE is very active with this product. For the internationalization, I will say that we are very focused on the push strategy, because this is the untied product that SACE is marketing, but also is the product that can be marketed by the international network. So our office is very focused in this structure, because we are very close to large importers and blue chips in Brazil and Mexico and in Peru and Colombia. So we try to manage the expectations of these large importers, large companies, to participate in matchmaking events, so that we can increase the relationship between these large buyers and exporting groups in Italy. So once the facility is disbursed upfront, 100% as a general purpose, the company is committed to participate in a very customized agenda of events that SACE will prepare for the company, depending on the projects and the technologies demanded by the importer. So this is a very new solution. SACE started marketing push strategy structure in 2018. So we are completing 4 years with this structure. It's been quite successful, because we can be more aggressive for very large groups, and these groups get in touch with Italian SMEs and large companies, and we can work in this agenda to increase the relationship between emerging market large companies and Italy. These are a little more details about how the structure of the deal works. So we have, as I said, a general purpose and a guarantee up to 80% of the facility, because we are not anymore in the traditional ECA product. We are in the internationalization and untied structure. So instead of going 95% covering the facility as the buyer's credit, now we are limited to 80% of the facility. These are more details about some undertakings that the borrower must sign, including the matchmaking events that are done on a best efforts basis to meet new companies and to start a relationship with new groups in Italy. this is what we call the push letter, in which we formalize these commitments that are signed by the company to participate in the events, to disclose reports about the status of the relationship with the Italian group, so that we can measure and we can follow the improvement of the relationship between these large companies and exporters from Italy. This is a very summarized slide about the transactions made under the push strategy structure. So up to now, around 2.5 billion euros in deals globally, from oil and gas, mining, petrochemical. In Mexico, we have a company in the power industry too. Considering the industry diversification, this is a very versatile product, because the industry in Italy, the technologies provided by Italian exporters, is also versatile. So we wouldn't be able to accomplish all these deals in such wide variety of industries if the Italian industry was not as diversified as that. So once the disbursement is done, they need to perform this relationship with Italy, and it wouldn't be possible if the technology in Italy was not available. These are some deals that were closed in the last maybe 8 years, just to show how diversified we can be in terms of industry, but also in terms of ticket. We have very small amounts here, but also very, very large ones. Finalizing my presentation, this is the domestic network and the international network. So we have several offices in Italy and 11 offices spread within mainly the emerging markets. And these are our contacts. So if you are located in any of these countries, these are the contacts. Feel free to contact us. We will be more than happy to support you. Thanks again, Alfredo. Back to you.
Muchas gracias, Tiago. Si dejas de compartir pantalla, me están anunciando que nos quedan pocos minutos, unos 15 minutos, así que le pido a los próximos participantes disculpas porque las otras presentaciones fueron un poquito largas, pero si podemos acelerar mejor. Ahora voy a invitar a Miriel Jansen. Miriel Jansen es de Bélgica y nos va a contar sobre instrumentos proporcionados por Credendo y Fenexpo para el apoyo en las energías renovables. Ella es un Business Development Specialist. Miriel, adelante, por favor.
Gracias, gracias. So, I don't know if you see my screen.
Sí, ya está ahí. Ponla en modo total. Listo.
So, good morning or good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for giving me the floor to explain Credendo's instruments in the role of an export credit agency. Sorry that I will make my presentation in English. My Spanish is really too poor. And thank you for all the interesting presentation I had from the colleagues till now. I see that we are all developing products, including financing tools, and South America is certainly a good target for European exporters. So in this short presentation, I would like to show how companies from Chile, Colombia, Brazil, and Argentina can benefit from Belgian funding instruments. First of all, let me briefly introduce you to Credendo. At the beginning, Credendo is a Belgian public entity, 100% owned by the Belgian state. It is still the case, but it became also a European group specialized in credit insurance. In Credendo, you will find all kinds of credit insurance products. The products of the ECA, Export Credit Agency, developed under the OECD rules, but also the products available on the private market. It is the reason why we are present now in 15 countries in Europe. At Credendo, we like to say that you come in Credendo with your projects and questions, and you leave with at least one solution. We offer tailor-made solution in insurance, guarantees, bonding, financing, and reinsurance. So about our corporate social responsibility, Credendo focuses on 11 SDGs. The SDGs where it believes that it may have the biggest impact. It is through its own activities, so our internal rules, but also through credit insurance business. And this impact can be both direct or indirect. So let's give here Credendo in figures. This is a summary of a 100-year-old group with around 500 employees. Total amount of transaction covered in 2020 was 84 billion euros. The group is structured with the parent company on one side, so the Belgian ECA, where all the transactions benefit from the Belgian state guarantee. It's the export credit agency. And the private subsidiaries on the other sides. They are working without the guarantee of the state at market condition in a very competitive market. Today, I will focus on Credendo's instruments used to support renewable energy projects. Trade, and you will see trade credit insurance, our basic product where Credendo is covering export risk, but then also the financing tool, where the financing is given to the foreign buyer thanks to Credendo directly. It's the one-stop shopping. Then we have also the financial guarantee for the banks willing to grant credit facilities to exporting Belgian companies. And the last one will be the investment insurance. Actually, I will more focus on the investment insurance, where we can also cover the investment done in Chile or Brazil or Argentina and Colombia. So let's first start with the trade credit insurance. Credit insurance covers the risk of non-payment of export transactions, whether for a few months or for several years. I will explain you how buyer credit insurance works, like for Versace. See, the mechanism is the same because we are following the same OECD rules. But in this case, it presupposes a Belgian exporter, a Belgian content, or at least a Belgian added value in the transaction. I like to say that you need a good Belgian story to tell. So the buyer credit is a structure where you ask a Belgian or a European bank to directly grant a credit to a foreign buyer. The exporter is covered against a termination risk and is directly paid by drawing on the credit facility. The bank is covered against the non-payment, actually, we should say the non-reimbursement of the credit facility. It is definitely a competitive advantage for the Belgian exporter who can offer a financing solution to the foreign buyer. On this slide, you see the structure of the transaction. So, well, you have the commercial contract between the Belgian exporter and the foreign buyer, but you see also the bank will grant the credit to the foreign buyer, but the payments will be done directly to the Belgian exporter. There is always a down payment of minimum 15%. So there, in this case, Credendo covered all transactions, all the defaults of the debtor due to either commercial or political risk. So it's a very classic structure, but it works. It works. It's a fantastic tool. Which is maybe a little bit more fantastic, I would say, is the financing tool that Credendo can offer. This is the second tool I would like to present. It is a similar structure to the buyer credits. Actually, here it's even a supplier credits. But in any case, why do we call it financing? Because the financing will not be done by the bank, but by Credendo itself. Why? Because of the amount. Because in most of the cases, banks are not willing to structure export credit facilities for amounts below, I would say, 5 million euro. Of course, for supplier credits, such as Thiago spoke about smaller amounts, around 500,000 euro, I would say this appetite doesn't exist always with banks. So indeed, the most interesting thing here, those small amounts, we speak about amounts as from 50,000 euro, and we can go up to 8 million euro. So how does it work? This financing product is called forfeiting. At the end of the day, this product will give a credit facility to the foreign buyer for an amount of up to 8 million euro. But most of the time, it is less than 1 million euro. I think that our average amount is 300,000 euro. And it is a one-stop shopping for SMEs with financing available for foreign buyer, but if they buy Belgian equipment. So the credits will be materialized by bills of exchange, and the tenor of the credit will be between 2 and 5 years. So I always like to say that this is really a very sexy product that we have in our range of products. So, and the third tool I want to show you is the financial guarantee. Actually, it's complementary to the two first products, the buyer credit and the forfeiting, because in the two first products, the financing is always given to the foreign buyer. And it's just to say that we have also one product which helps the bank to grant a credit facility to the Belgian exporter. And it will also help then the Belgian exporter to obtain more easily this credit facility in Belgium. It's maybe not necessary to go into the details of this one. Of course, it's a guarantee up to maximum 50%. But then I just added one product that I want to speak also about. It is the investment insurance, because yes, of course, like the other countries under the OECD rules, we can cover the capital invested in a foreign company abroad. For example, capital, so equity that a Belgian company wants to invest with an existing partner, for example, in Colombia or Chile, and we can cover this capital, but only against the political risk. So that's, I think it was important to mention, because it's also something that can be interesting for you. So my conclusion is that an export credit agency, whatever it is, from Belgium, from Spain, or from Italy, or from Germany and others, can offer fantastic financing tools. You only have to find the good supplier, in this case, the Belgian supplier, for the equipment or the services you want. So this will end my presentation. I hope this will help you. Don't hesitate to contact me for any assistance in a new transaction. Thank you all for your attention.
Muchas gracias, Mirel. Bueno, ahora nuestro último participante desde Austria es Gerard Kinselberger. Y Gerard va a hablar sobre ayuda de exportación e inversiones y es parte del Austrian Export Credit Agency. Es el director de Relaciones Internacionales y Análisis de OIKB. Así que, Gerard, tienes la palabra y no, calculo que no va a haber problema, nos podemos extender unos minutos. Teníamos planeado terminar 12:30, pero obviamente las presentaciones fueron todas muy interesantes y muy detalladas, así que siéntete libre de hablar tranquilo. Y bueno, le pido disculpas a los participantes que por ahí tendrán que esperar unos minutitos más para escuchar tu presentación. Gracias, Gerard.
Thank you, Alfredo, and thank you to the LCBA team for inviting me to present you the facilities Österreichische Kontrollbank can offer to exporters and to the buyers in Latin America. Good morning and good afternoon to everybody from Austria. I will share. No, that's not.
Ya está.
So.
It's okay. Your presentation is on the screen.
Is it on the screen? Yes.
Perfect.
So, Mireille just mentioned that export credit, insurance, and all the facilities ECAs offer are very exciting things, and I hope I can show you those things OIKB can offer, and hopefully they are really exciting for you. Just allow me to briefly introduce Österreichische Kontrollbank OIKB. We are a privately owned bank. That's different to the ECAs, which my predecessors represent. We offer specialized services to the Austrian economy, to Austrian banks, to Austrian exporters, and for several services we have a public mandate. Similar to Credendo, we are celebrating this year our 75th anniversary, not the 100th, but the 75th. As you see on this slide, on the bottom of this slide.
Perdón, Gerard. Lo que estamos viendo es un documento que está en alemán. No sé si esa era tu presentación. I'm sorry. What we're seeing is a document that seems to be in German.
Okay, because I have.
It's like a two-page.
Sorry. Yes, because I have it on my screen. So I'll try it again.
Okay.
So.
Now it came. Just put it in full size.
Yes.
Yeah, put it in full size at the bottom.
So is it on full size?
Not yet.
So sorry.
Now it is. No, not yet. I'm sorry. You're on the first page, but the full size didn't come out. And you're on our second page.
So that's a pity because I.
Now it is.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
so,
sorry.
Sorry for that inconvenience.
No problem, no problem.
As I mentioned, we provide specialized services, and on the bottom of this slide, you can see the different services OIKB provides. We have a subsidiary for tourism service where OIKB provides tailor-made financing for the Austrian tourism business. We have a subsidiary called the Austrian Development Bank, which provides long-term finance for the private sector and for economically sustainable projects which have a positive impact on development. And for Austrian Development Bank, climate-related projects are a very important part of their business. And different to OEKB, and what I will speak later on is that Austrian Development Bank has no link to Austrian exports or to deliveries from Austrian companies. You can also see that we provide specialized services for the Austrian energy market, where we conduct financial clearing operations, also services for the Austrian capital market, where we offer the central infrastructure. What I will talk about are the export services, where OEKB provides export guarantees on behalf of the Republic of Austria and offers also financing via domestic and foreign banks. So we do not offer direct financing or direct lending. We do it via the commercial banks. That means that we offer insurance and financing under one roof, and that is very convenient for our customers. Here you see some numbers of our export service business. We have approximately 3,500 customers, banks and Austrian exporters. We are covering risks in almost 180 countries, political risk and commercial risks. So our clients are spread all over the world and export to countries around the globe. We have an overall commitment limit, liability limit of 40 billion euros. Last year, we issued new guarantees in the amount of 7.5 billion euros. And in our financing business, refinancing business, we issued new commitments amounting to 7.6 billion euros. So that's a quite substantial amount. Here you see how our export and investment guarantees are split over the world. These are the guarantees outstanding, approximately 10 billion euros by the end of last year. And you can see that Latin America is not on top of our target region. We have Russia, China, and Indonesia as the most important countries, but Brazil is also very important for our export industry. Brazil ranks, like Indonesia, number 4. We have Mexico also with a substantial amount of outstanding exposure, and unfortunately all other Latin American countries only account for 4%, and Colombia, Chile, and Argentina, I would say there is room for more business. Since we are talking about green investment, green business, and climate-friendly projects, sustainability is a key pillar of our mission and of our business principles. As was already mentioned, we are, as an export credit agency, bound by the OECD arrangement of officially supported export credits and other OECD instruments, and in particular, it is the OECD recommendation on common approaches on social and environmental due diligence, which has been in place for many years and which is part of our due diligence process, and every project is benchmarked and assessed against the common approaches. We also observe the SDGs, the 17 SDGs, and benchmark and map our business above a certain threshold against the SDGs, so that we are able to say this transaction supports SDG number 1, number 8, number 4, number 9. The mentioned SDGs are those which are most common in our business transactions. We have issued two sustainability bonds so far. As I mentioned, we provide refinancing facilities for the Austrian, for the banks. And to be able to do that, we raise money on the international capital markets. We benefit from the favorable rating of the Austrian Republic and pass these favorable conditions on to the exporters, to the bank. And we raised money with the sustainability bonds so far, which were very successful. One was approximately 500 million euros. And the second one was 100 million euros. And with the revenues from these bonds, we financed green projects or social projects. We can only do this if we have Austrian suppliers, which are also engaged in green technology. And there are many companies in Austria who provide and offer environmental technology, for example, in the water, drinking water, wastewater sector. A lot of several companies in the renewable energy sector, in particular in the hydropower sector, in the transportation sector. We have a lot of companies which are engaged in social projects, health projects, and many small and medium-sized companies which produce machinery which can also have beneficial effects on the environment. So now, how can we support Austrian exporters and buyers in Latin America? I think it's important to mention that in our export credit insurance business, we have the requirement of an Austrian content, which has to be involved. In general, we require 50% of Austrian content involved in a transaction in order to be able to support that transactions. I said in general, because there can be exceptions. And you see on this slide, there's a bonus for green projects. That means if we have a green project, we can reduce this requirement of Austrian content from 50% to 25%. So that's an incentive for companies to export green projects, and we can support them. We offer this traditional product portfolio of ECAs. We cover the non-payment risk, political commercial risks. We offer suppliers credit. We offer a guarantee for the sale of receivables. We can cover buyers credits. We provide cover for manufacturing risk, for credit risk. And we also can offer concessional financing in accordance with the OECD arrangement for tied projects. I think important to mention is also that our percentages of cover for political risk cover are 100% or 99%. 99% for the higher risk markets and 100% for the lower risk markets. The commercial percentage of cover is up to 95%. As my Credendo colleague mentioned, we are also able to provide cover for foreign investments of Austrian investors. In that case, we only provide cover against political risks. you see also that there's a bonus for green projects, which means that we can provide more financing and longer tenors for the financing. Coming back to the export transactions, if we are talking about green projects, I mentioned already that we have reduced the national content requirement to 25%. We can also offer longer tenors up to 18 years in accordance with the OECD arrangements. And we may show an increased risk appetite if we have green projects, because we have, of course, internal guidelines how much we can cover in a country. And if we are approached with a green project, then we may increase this internal guidelines and our risk appetite. On this slide, you also see our domestic programs, working capital programs for internalizations of Austrian companies. But all these activities have to be export related. So coming next to this slide, you already know, this is the typical structure for a smaller SME transaction where we have an Austrian supplier, we have an international client and the export contract, and OKB provides insurance to the Austrian supplier against non-payment of the international client. That's not new, but in this regard, what's very attractive for SMEs, if they have a supplier credit, they can sell the receivables to a bank, and we would then provide insurance to the bank. And provide also financing if there's a need. The next slide, you can see the buyer's credit. That's a typical product for larger projects. And if we are talking about green projects, then these are mostly projects with a higher volume in the energy sector, in the transportation sector, but also in the water, wastewater sector. And there we have the bank provided the loan to the international client or an international bank. We have the Austrian exporter with the export contract. We provide insurance to the Austrian exporter for his manufacturing period, and we provide insurance to the bank for the repayment of the loan. And we can also provide refinancing facilities to the bank, which are usually very attractive for the international client. So since we are talking about Argentina, Brazil, Chile, and Colombia, these are our cover facilities. For these countries, you see Argentina is yellow. That means that there are several restrictions which we have to apply if we cover transactions to Argentina. That's due to the general economic situation in Argentina. So we are mostly focusing on smaller transactions in the private sector. For all other countries, Brazil, Chile, and Colombia, we are open for cover without restrictions. So that means we are happy and ready to provide cover to transactions from Austrian exporters to these countries. And especially the focus should be on clean, green, climate-friendly projects. But that's, of course, no restrictions or limitation. we of course support all transactions Austrian companies offer. We have only two exceptions, two sectors which we do not support. That's the defense sector and the nuclear sector. For transactions in these areas, we cannot provide cover, but for all other countries, for all other sectors, there's the possibility to provide insurance, and on the basis of this insurance to provide refinancing facilities. There are no limitations or thresholds, so it could be very small transactions, but also very large transactions. And we would be, as I mentioned at the beginning, and when you saw the numbers, we would be happy to do more in Latin American countries and stand ready to support companies, our Austrian exporters, but also potential buyers, clients in Latin America. So thank you, and hopefully you take something with you. And if you are interested to get a deeper insight into our products, you can contact us directly, or you could also get information from the Austrian commercial counselors in Brazil, Argentina, Chile, or Colombia, where you can see the contact details. So thank you very much, and sorry for the time and being not fully on schedule. Thanks.
Thank you, Gerard. Don't feel bad. It's not your fault. Todas las presentaciones fueron muy interesantes y bueno, la gente se expandió en lo que podía hacer. Tengo un par de preguntas si todavía los participantes están disponibles. Son muy poquitas, pero por ejemplo, para Beric Schick, Marco Riboni pregunta si have the projects mentioned by the German reference are not SMEs. Interest in organizations like this in Germany to finance SMEs? ¿Estás por ahí, Beric?
I did not really get you correctly. Something with small ticket financing is not available for companies?
No. They got the impression that from your presentation that your offering was more for large companies. What they're asking is if your bank is open for financing small projects, SMEs, European SMEs, yeah. Small and medium-sized enterprises.
Yeah, so we have to differentiate a bit. First of all, as I already mentioned, we have the big and strong arm of the export credit agency, Euler Hermes, is supporting small ticket export financing. They're doing it also on a digital way now, which is available under the name Small Ticket Financing, or SMATICS. If you Google that, or if you use your web engine, then you can find also support for SMEs that are exporting to OECD countries. So that is available, and also under the investment branch, there's also small ticket support available. Of course, as I already mentioned it, there you have always transaction costs when it comes to due diligence. So you will have to check and first of all have to look at the investment project costs. That is why DEG has partnered with Pichincha Bank, and also, as was mentioned by my colleagues beforehand, either other banks and also DEG are providing loans to local banks to exactly reduce these kind of transactional costs, thereby and therefore making it more attractive, and also to reduce the so-called ticket size of projects. So yes, there is a strong support for SMEs, and I did not get the name, but the person, of course, can contact me, and then we can discuss individually and bilaterally.
Yeah. The other question that they have for you is if your lines of credits are open for Argentina these days.
Ah, interesting. That is to be seen when it comes to export. Yes, when it comes to investment, we'll have to see what can be done. Of course, in general, Argentina is an OECD DAC country, so it would be eligible, and it depends, of course, on the project.
Okay. Then I had a question for Thiago. Same question. They ask if SASI is open for lines of credit for Argentina nowadays.
Yes. For Argentina at the moment, we are on a case-by-case status, looking for any project that comes to us. Okay, so of course, we are very conservative about the country, but depending on the project and depending on the transaction, if we consider that the merits of eligibility and the merits of credit are in place, we should have no problem. But in this 2021 and 2020, it's been a little difficult to find this kind of projects, but just to answer the question, we are not closed. So case by case, we will look into it.
Well, with that, and we're a little bit over time, so disculpas para la audiencia, lo digo en español. Nos fuimos un poquito del tiempo, pero realmente las presentaciones fueron muy interesantes. Yo estoy muy contento de ver el interés que hay de estas entidades financieras de apoyar proyectos europeos en Latinoamérica y sobre todo proyectos verdes, que es justamente lo que nosotros estamos, el área en la que estamos trabajando. Así que les agradezco muchísimo a los participantes y a su vez a los ponentes por las excelentes presentaciones. Y bueno, las presentaciones van a estar disponibles para todos. Así que van a tener no solo las presentaciones, sino que también van a poder tener la grabación. Y acá les dejo un código QR donde se pueden conectar con nosotros, y esta presentación también va a estar disponible, y después también los datos de contacto para que todos ustedes tengan. Los esperamos en la medida que tengan proyectos, interés, con gusto estamos todos disponibles para hablar. Así que muchas gracias y buen día, buenas noches para los que están en Europa, que ya deben estar cerca de pensar un poquito en la cena, o por lo menos un traguito antes de la cena.
Thank you.
Así que con esto lo damos por